What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Perfect Mess Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Molina, and this is episode 161. Recently I've been having conversations with, coaches that I coach with and coaches that I've coached against. And, a big issue that we have been dealing with is, kids, parents who aren't necessarily like the kids and parents we had when we were growing up. All right, so yes, this is the classic conversation of this generation is weaker than the other generation. I know that conversation always is being had, and usually when you get around my age, that's typically when that conversation starts to happen. But follow me, one of the coaches that I talked to, he told me recently that he's just getting burnt out. He's like, I love the game, love coaching, love doing everything that I do, but I'm just really tired of dealing with parents who are not being realistic with their children, who are who have these expectations for their kids, and they're not being realistic to their kids. So in turn, their kids are acting out, and their kids are feeling entitled, or their kids are having a certain attitude because it comes from the parent. Instead of coming out to the field and working hard, whether it be at practice or at the game, you should always be working hard. But, and I said, well, what's been going on? He's like, he goes, do you remember when we used to play ball when we were younger? And excuse me if you hear noise in the background. I'm on my morning walk at the park, so you'll hear some cars or maybe some random people every now and then. But follow me. He's like, do you remember when we were growing up? There was everything was based in reality with us, We were taught to play every position on the field. Why? Because you just never knew where you were going to be needed. Now, okay, let's say you had a coach that you grew up with and he knew you were the best second baseman. You played second base. He understood that. But let's say you went to high school and they already had a second baseman who was nails. Nails meaning really good. And he said, hey, your high school coach says, I know you played second base your whole life, but I really need you at shortstop. Don't have a shortstop. Or I need you at third base. Or let's say the infield is completely full. I need you in right field. You got a strong arm. We just went. Why? Because we were taught the game. We were taught how to play baseball, not taught how to play second base. We were taught how to play baseball. He's like, that's how we were raised. We were taught to play the game, not a position. And what I'm dealing with now, and he goes, and I know you have seen this at the high school level and probably Little League and now travel ball, is we're dealing with kids who have been taught to play a position, and anytime you deviate from that, it's a problem. Same thing with the batting lineup. On my other team, I've always batted cleanup, or on my other team, I was always lead off. Blah, blah, blah. On down to bunting. He goes, I can go on and on and on. Some kids never learn how to bunt. Fastest kid on the team never learned how to bunt. I don't bunt. And I told him the story. I said, I remember, coaching a Little League team, and I started talking about bunting and wanting to teach the kids how to bunt. And I remember, at least one kid telling me, I don't bunt. And I said, why? He's like, because I don't. He's like, it's not necessary. And I said, didn't you raise your hand when I said, who's the fastest kid on this team? He said, yeah. I said, then why would you take that weapon out of your tool belt? That's a weapon you can put in your tool belt and use at any given moment when we need a runner and we're down a run or two. He's like, but I hit. I go, okay, well, let's say that day you hit everything, but it went right to everybody. And so you're 0 for 3. You hit the ball, but it went right to the second baseman. It went right to the center fielder, and it went right to the shortstop. Now you're in your 4th at bat, and we're down a run or 2. Now you have that bunt in your back pocket. You drop one down. Because you're fast, you beat it out. Now we got a runner on base. I get you to steal second, and then we get a clutch hit. And guess what? We score, tie the game. You get it? You understood. Needless to say, that was a kid who started asking me if he could bunt during the game. But we start talking about all these things. And, in situations that we've had recently. And yeah, the game has changed, but I don't think it's necessarily the game that has changed. I think it's more of, technology has changed the game. Social media has changed the game. And in turn, it has affected the parenting, and it has affected the children. Everybody is so caught up with social media, looking like a ball player rather than becoming the best ball player. A lot of showboating, a lot of me instead of the team. And everybody's screaming. It's evident because every time someone talks about going to college and play ball, the first thing out of their mouth is D1, 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 D1. I'm going D1. I'm going to try to go D1. When they don't even realize that, I don't know what your area is like if you're listening or watching this, but in our area out here in the Bay Area, we've got some JUCOs, which is for the newbies, junior college. We've got some JUCOs who have some amazing teams, amazing organizations. Like, these guys are badass. These schools out here. We've got West Valley. We've got Ohlone. Mission is coming back. Gavilan is coming back because they have the coach from Ohlone, and he was the guy that helped them lose only 2 games out of, I think, 40 games a couple years ago. They were ballers. We've got quite a few different schools out here that are all JUCO and very, very good. And then we've got, Cal, Stanford, San Jose State, who's always competing for the Mountain West. Stanford, you guys are familiar with them. Cal, of course. We've got Santa Clara University. Just lots of different options in this area. You guys all know about it. Anyways, I'm just naming some of the more well-known ones. But there are so many different options. But we're now in an age where it's like D1 or bust. And it shouldn't be like that. We talked about how your goal after high school should be to play 4 more years. Not to go to a school and say, hey, I made the Cal Berkeley squad, and then you didn't play not one play all year. You didn't get in the game, barely got in a bat, but you're wearing that like a badge of honor. Your goal should be to play wherever you can. Go where you're going to play and get reps. That should be the goal, because no one's going to come see you if you're just sitting on the bench. You got to get playing time. So these kids that are always talking about D1, and they're all, it's because a lot of them are being fed dreams. Okay, they're being fed dreams through the travel ball system, and every travel ball system has a bunch of coaches that know a lot of stuff, right? Some act like they know more than others. Baseball can be really snobby. Trust me, I've been around it my whole life. A lot of these coaches have egos. I'm not going to say I don't have an ego, because I'm a man. I've been coaching. I know baseball. Yes, I do have an ego, but a lot of guys don't have it in check. I feel like I have mine in check, and I feel like I coach with a bunch of guys who do. But the travel ball system has definitely, sold a lot of people dreams, and a lot of people are falling victim to it. So, We get in situations where we get players that come out and play with us, and, they get asked to play a certain position, and immediately there's a complaint. Hey, my kid doesn't play that position, and he won't be playing that position. And it's always a question of, how do you know that? Well, because I know we've been working on this. But see, this goes back to me telling people, you have no idea what the next coach is going to see in him and what he's going to want him to do. You may think he's this, but the coach is going to say, nah, he's better at this. You're going to keep grabbing your kid and moving your kid around because you're not getting what you want. That's not the way to do it, at least in my opinion. Teaching your kid bad habits, teaching your kid to run when they don't get their way. And then on the flip side, you got kids who have been coddled in another way. They've been coddled and told they are the greatest, and they're really not. And then they get to like what I had, a high school level where I coach, and they're convinced by their parents that they are a great baseball player. You're really good, son, and you're this, you're that. And then they get on a team and they realize that they're struggling to keep up with the kids who are actually ball players. And instead of having the self-awareness to understand that they are not on the same skill level, they lash out and say, well, I don't like the coach. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't know how I could be this guy all through Little League. I played everything. I was always starting. I always made all-stars. And then I come here and I don't even play. This coach sucks. Does it really mean the coach sucks? Or does it mean that you have been coddled in Little League your entire life, and you just happen to make a team that didn't have any cuts because it's rebuilding a program and it just needed bodies, and you happen to be a body, and when you got in the game, you realized competing against these other kids, you are not up to par. That's usually the case. But this goes back to the parenting, because then you hear from the parents, why is my kid not playing? Why this? Why that? And you ask them, you turn the table on them and you say, have you been at practice? Have you been at the games, which I'm sure you have? Have you seen every opportunity your son has been given? And have you seen the results? What is he doing outside of practice? Is he doing any work at home? Or is he just waiting to pick up a baseball and a glove every time it's practice day? Does he do anything during the summer? Or does he not touch a baseball and a glove for 6 months until baseball season comes back around? My attitude is you don't need to answer that because I already know the answer to that. But again, you look for ways to blame other people. This is what we're talking about, this generation. Okay? Every now and then, you run into a kid who's been parented correctly, who's been coached correctly, and when you get those kids, it's a blessing. I have a kid on my team right now, on my 16U team, and I told one of the coaches, if I could take that kid's attitude and approach to the game, I would clone him 12 other times. Why? Because this is a kid who doesn't necessarily need to be coached up that much. He's a kid, so he needs coaching, but he doesn't need to be coached up. And what I mean by that is, you don't always have to be over there tugging him, telling him, like, come on, man, talking him up so he's doing his work. He's a self-motivator, and he's coachable. Even with the talent level he has, he's coachable. he knows he's always got something to learn, because I always tell everybody, if you feel like you've already reached your peak and you don't have anything else to learn, you're in trouble. But this kid is a motivator. Talks the kids up, comes up, daps the coaches up the minute he gets to practice. Before he leaves, daps the coaches up, has a question, has input, always wants to talk about, how can we make the team better? Hey, coach, I have an idea. Hey, coach, yada, yada, yada. I can tell that this kid has been parented correctly. You go out there and you play whatever position they need you at. Your goal is to get playing time. Your goal is to be in that lineup so you can swing the bat. And he gets it. And the reason why I know he gets it is because I tell him, hey, I need you here. Hey, I'm going to move you from third. I need to move you over here. No questions, no attitude. He just goes. That's a kid who you can tell was parented by an old school style parent, or just a parent who gets it. Very coachable. I don't do daddy ball with my kids. A lot of you guys know, been around me for a while. Yes, I have been a very integral part in coaching my kids throughout their baseball career. But I've also stepped aside. When there's other coaches, trust me, I let the other coaches handle them. Whenever it's possible for me to delegate coaching my kids to someone else, even if I'm on that team and I'm the head coach, I do it. Why? Because I want my kids used to hearing from another coach, getting another perspective, and also getting comfortable to be coached by someone else other than me. So, for instance, on this team right now, when it comes to my son and pitching and whatnot, I have two other coaches for that. I told them, Jordan doesn't really want to be a starting pitcher. He'd like to come in as a reliever. You handle that. They go over there, work with him, talk him off a ledge because he doesn't really want to pitch anymore. And then he realizes, I can pitch. I just had a bad game. I had nothing to do with that. I let the coaches handle that. Well, I'm over here coaching these other guys up. I delegate. I don't coddle. I'm sharing all this with you guys because if you have a kid, my sport is baseball. I used to coach football too, but my sport is baseball. You're not doing yourselves a favor. You're not doing your kid any favor by telling them you are just this. And any coach that doesn't want you to play this position and has you do something else, we don't want to play for them. I always tell everybody, make the coach's job hard. Make it difficult. How do you do that? You perform. Every time you get an opportunity, you perform. Every time you get an opportunity, you make the most of it. Let's say you don't get out there and play defense, but you get one at-bat in the game. Make sure you go up to the batter's box and have an approach. Know the situation. Be smart. If you're asked to come in and pinch run, make sure you don't get picked off. If you're asked to fill in for somebody who got hurt at shortstop, make sure you're knocking down every ground ball that comes your way. There's a way to do this. And parents and kids, if you're listening, you should learn to play every position you can so you can find your way into that starting lineup. And I'll tell you one thing, if you can hit, they will always find a spot for you on that roster. Always. Because one of the most important things, if not the most important thing in baseball, is hitting. It's also the most difficult thing. Why? I tell everybody, it's the one thing you can be 30% great at, and 30% good at, and be considered one of the greatest. And even the guys that are good at it don't bat 300, more like 280. It's the truth. So I hope you guys hear me out, understand. Don't coddle your kids. And guys, if you're listening and you're a baller, you should be trying to learn every position possible, and you should be working as much as you can. Try to get something done every day, whether it's hacks into a bow net or bouncing a ball off a wall, whatever. You should be getting work every day. Don't wait till practice day to come, and don't wait till baseball season to pick up a ball and glove. That's all I got. Love you guys. God bless. Have a great day. Like I always say, my life isn't perfect. Oftentimes it's a mess, but for me, it is a perfect mess. Peace. RayMolina.com.